Okay, so for this video you've been needing some paint, green, brown, black, white, yellow, glue gun, some lacquer, a brush for the lacquer, an old toothbrush, a small thin bladed knife with a bendy blade, a normal brush, and then an old brush with some ruined bristles, that's important, a saw, a glass plate, and then some branches that you want to turn into roots. If you got that, then you're good to go. Before we're starting, I just wanted to show you how absolutely massive these roots are when put onto a battle grid. I'm really happy about the result. Oh, and by the way, if you like the battle grid beneath, then I got a video for that as well. But let's get crafting. So here we're starting off with the raw branches, and the two dark ones, you can see I have already cut the bottoms of them so they can almost stand on their own. They're a little bit wobbly, so I of course wanted to paint them, but I also want them to be more sturdy when placed on the table. So first off, cleaning them with a brush. There's a few small tiny pieces of moss, there's a little bit of dirt and some small flakes from the bark, which I wanted to get rid of. And now I'm just putting on a nice foot or a shoe of hot glue on either, and it's okay to let it cool down a little in the air, because you don't want to push all the glue just to the outside of the branch. You want it to be placed underneath, so you get a sort of a cushion effect, because then when you place it on the glass plate, then you get a perfectly flat shoe on them, a foot or base, and then they'll be really sturdy when you put them on the table. So you can see I'm adding a bit more to the sides, just making sure the base is nice, sturdy, and it has a good grip of the branch, so it's not going to peel off at some point. Here I wanted to show how simple and, well, not very elegant I'm adjusting the roots. You saw I just made a rough estimate on where I should place the cut, so it will be standing all right. Then we got the two big ones here, and same thing about the one before. It doesn't have to be perfectly accurate, because the glue will take the shape you need it to have, and if a cut is too angled or too much angled too high into the air, which this root has, then I added a few coins before, and then I'm placing the glue on top, and then I'm filling out the gap with hot glue. You can use some washers you can buy in a construction market, some metal washers. They will do absolutely fine as well. I just got these tiny coins, so they would do as well. Another thing that's good for putting something beneath the hot glue, because if you see that very large area I'm coating in hot glue now, if I put that directly onto the glass plate, it might be real difficult to get it off. I mean, it's glue after all, right? So even though I have a knife, you can see this little blue one in the front, it has a very thin blade, and it's very flexible, so it's really good for releasing glue from the glass plate. But if there's too much glue and it's too strong, then it's still a struggle to get it out there. Here we moved on to the next part. You can see I added some water to the paint. You can see it's very thin, meaning it's very easy to coat the roots in it. And here, they're simply too light in their color. I wanted them darker because I wanted the roots to emanate this feeling of a deep ancient forest, and they were simply too light. I wanted the bark to look much older. So this is just a quick, easy coat. And I'm not trying to get it perfect all over. You can see there are spots where the paint hasn't really crawled into the crevices of the bark here on the root in front. It's perfectly fine. That's not what I'm going for here. What I want is to get some darker color and perhaps also some texture. You can see that was the paint I just got onto it. That was way too bright red for my taste, so I added some more black and green to it, and then it got darker. And you'll also see, yeah, I just started pouring the paint directly into this small container. Some of the color, you'll see there's a lot of color change here. You can see it's almost red brown some places, and then it's really dark brown, maybe a little green brown, a little flat to it, and I'm perfectly happy about that. You'll also see here that I'm just putting on some extra paint on top to try and create some variations to the roots. At first I thought I would keep them rather dark. Right now they're not looking too bad. They have to be a little bit more green, but right now it's a very ancient forest this tree will originate from, with some gigantic trees. But in the end it turned out a little too dark for me. So after letting them dry for some time, I started working on the top of the roots. If you've been out walking in the forest, then you will see that there's not much green on the bottom of a branch or a log or a dead tree, but on the top it can be very, very lush green, like very, very bright green, almost to a point where it becomes white yellowish. So that's why I am using green, yellow and black mostly to mix for paint here. And this is the second coating. The first one was the brown, and now I'm giving them the roots the second layer, which is a dark green. And then I'm sort of building up, because I'll be adding a third layer later on, where I use a very light and bright green. The roots here, they are simply they're still too dark for my taste. So after letting them dry for some time, I started working on them. And here I made a mistake, because I didn't mix green and yellow solely. I mixed a lot of green and white. You can see the video is slowing down right now, and you can see on my body language from my hands, I'm not feeling this. This is not what I intended it to be. I'm trying a bit more to see, is it just some illusion for me, or like, are my eyes betraying me? And then I realized, no, they're not. And then you can see a trick here, because I add water to the brush, remove the paint from it. Then I use some toilet paper, and then I add water to the paint. And because the layers below, they have dried up, they are not getting softened up by this, but I am very cautious. You can see I'm not wiping, I'm just pressing the toilet paper on top, and then I remove it afterwards, and then the paint just follows along. If you do this too much, you will soften up the underpaint, meaning you will also remove the brown and green and dark green below. So, learning from my mistake here, I started adding more green and more yellow to the mixed paint here, and now things are looking a lot better. At first, I thought I would only do it in the bottom, where the roots are in contact with the forest floor, but then I ended up also painting the top because it looked really nice. One thing you'll notice here also is the way I use the brush. I have switched to the old ruined one with some straight bristles which are just pointing in all directions. It's not very good for painting, but it's really good for dotting on texture strokes like this. Well, not strokes, textured paint, because you can see I'm just dotting with the tip almost vertically onto the surface, meaning I'm not trying to make some brush strokes where you wipe the paint around. Instead, I just take the paint on the very points of the bristles and the brush, and then I dot it onto the surface. You can see here again, these are not brush strokes, it's just like dotting things. It's not like I'm tattooing the thing, but it's kind of the same principle, that instead of trying to draw lines, you take some paint and then you put it at one point, and then you don't want to smudge it around from there. And here you can see the results. They're coming rapidly. Again, I'm using a little too much white mixed together with the green right now. I learned this later on, and then I start using more and more yellow. It's not a bad paint job on this one, but I'm getting more confident later on. That's a little too white again, what you can see here. So I want more green, and then I'll be adding yellow on top. A good way to see how I'm mixing the paint. The video will probably not be good enough in resolution so you can see it on the actual brush. Also, things have been sped up a lot. But try and look at the palette and see how the paint is mixing there. Yeah, that was only yellow I added to the brush this time around. Let's see here. Oh yeah, this is a good one, I believe. So I haven't added much more white to the palette, but I just added a straight blob of yellow. And so here, first the green layer, and then I'm not letting it dry. I just want the paint to mix. So when I just grab some yellow and mix it with green, and then I take a little bit more yellow, and then I just dot it straight on the top, and then you have this really lush green effect. I was so happy with it, so I almost painted a little too much, but now these roots, they are definitely covered in moss, so this is a very lush green forest. It's not a dark and gloomy place, but I like how they turned out, and then I'll have to make some other roots for a gloomy forest at some point. Here I'm applying some furniture lacquer onto the roots to preserve all the work in there and make sure the paint don't scale off when used. Make sure to read the product information when you do things like this. This lacquer here needs 4 hours of rest before you can start handling the roots afterwards. And here we got the finished product. I just wanted to show how lush the colors are and vibrant when looking at them and placed on a battle grid. Thanks a lot for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, found some inspiration of your own, and perhaps even learned a thing or two. Should you be interested in supporting the channel, aside from just throwing a like and subscribing, then I'm a published author. I write books, I paint illustrations, and I got a few other things in the works as well. You can see some of my work at tscout.com. There you can also find links to social medias, as well as places where you can buy books and artwork. Any support will be greatly appreciated, even if it's just a click or two to help fight the algorithm. So thanks for watching once again. Hope to see you again soon.